Let's get weird, buddy. Let's get weird.
Guys, where are we?
Well, if there's a bright center to the universe, you're on the planet that it's farthest from.
Welcome to the Outer Rim. Enjoy your stay.
Here come the heroes to save the world from destruction. They are X-Men.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun, and we are back talking comics. And what comics are we talking about specifically? Well, because this week we're ending Marvel Madripoor Nights with number 5. We're ending X-Men 97 with number 4. We just finished Gambit's original miniseries. We did Days of Future Past. We are doing Wolverine Deadpool WW3. Wade Wilson III, and we are also currently doing The Nice House on the Lake. But now that I feel way more comfortable doing these, it's time to get serious. It's time to do an ongoing series that's going to be pretty much going on through the rest of the, however long it takes. And that is going over every single book in my X-Men collection of X-Men Standard, which means going all the way back to my oldest book to whenever I feel like stopping. And my oldest book currently of the X-Men goes all the way back to 1969 with X-Men number 54, where we're dealing with the Living Pharaoh and the first appearance of Alex Summers, aka Havok, aka Scott's brother. And this was a big deal. I remember back in this time period, it was when Neil Adams had just passed, and I went on a tear of devouring his books. And in the time that I was doing it and getting some of his books, at the local comic shop that I go to, Graham Crackers, they had number 54. And it said on the thing, first appearance of Alex Summers, and I just had to. At the time, I was just like, in fact, I think I left, and I think I came back like a week or so later, and I had already made up my mind, but I was like, hemming and hawing. But that is my oldest issue of X-Men. And the reason that I'm doing this is, not just because of my love of comic books, and this is just what I'm doing, and maybe it even makes sense to start, doing this. But for me, the X-Men are my favorite characters in comics. I've loved all kinds of independent stories. I think some of the, there's books that are coming out of like independent, books that like from Image and Boom and from different creators like Tinian and Zdarsky and Snyder and Remender, and there's so many. But the books that I love is the X-Men. My favorite characters are in the X-Men. I have the most X-Men books of anything in my collection. They're different. They all new, all different, right? But it always spoke to me because of their differences. They're not your standard superheroes. They are born this way, and they didn't ask for it, and they're hated for it because, again, I always say people are just jealous of the power they don't have. And so, people fear and hate mutants because, it's different. They're taking over the great replacement theory, all that shit. And this goes way back. And I mean, the X-Men were coming out in the 60s amongst the tumultuousness of civil rights and everything else that was going on in the 60s. And they were tackling, racism. Now, it's funny that these are a bunch of white people, instead of, adding at least a couple of black people or somebody in here that would represent a minority, that would within a minority. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it would just make sense to, were they too afraid to be too on the nose? Would nobody support it if they said like, no, like these, we want them to, was it the only way that they could tackle civil rights is by making them all white and try to be as subversive and still getting the message out? I don't know. I wasn't there, and I haven't done. I'm not the X-Men historian who knows every little inch of trivia about what went on in the creation and the motivations of old X-Men stories. I just love the books, and I love what they represent. I've always been a weird nerd. I feel different my whole life, and I think that that's one of the big draws to people in the X-Men, not just claws and explosive cards and psychic powers and immortality and all this other stuff. It's the fact that we all can relate to being different. We all can relate to being, just about all of us can relate to being persecuted in some fashion for being different. And it just makes the X-Men go a long way for me. And they've just always, like, most of my life has been filled with the X-Men. There was a time when I wasn't collecting, but I mean, I had the movies and games, and there was always something X-Men related in my life. And it's been that way since the late 80s. And now that I finally have figured out how I want to do this, it's time. It's time to go in and talk about the X-Men from the beginnings. We're not even at issue number 100, like I wish that I had some of the really, really older ones, but the further back you go, the further, the more you pay. And I've just given up on being able to get my hands on some of those books, just like I think I could probably get X-Men, some of the older X-Men, before I'd be able to get giant size X-Men. But, I'm not there yet. And I might never be. And I don't have X-Men number 94, Uncanny X-Men 94, because that's also a super valuable book. That's the first Chris Claremont book. But I do have 95, 96, 97. But, and also to be, so that everybody knows what I'd be talking about, at least for this first grouping of issues of X-Men, I have issues 54 through 66. That goes all the way. 66 is the last issue of X-Men before they went and did reprints. So 67 to 92 or 93. Yeah. 67 to 93, I believe, were all reprints of the original X-Men stories. And then Giant Size comes out, 94 comes out, and we're off to the races. But I have 54 through 66, only missing 55. And so at least that'll explain some of this, because I've never read some of these books. And so it's going to be interesting to read the books and then talk more about them. Because right now, I mean, all I can do cursory is say, yes, this is the book with the first appearance of Alex Summers. 54 is The Living Pharaoh. 54 is, going back to the original Scott, Gene, Bobby, Hank, Warren team. And, these are all dated. This is all dated, but it's in the best possible way. I was looking through 56. There's another story here, and maybe we'll get to it someday. But there was, I did read 56, thinking that 56 was my oldest book of X-Men. And as I was recording and I got into reading the book, and they were talking about Alex Summers, and I'm like, I could have sworn that I had the first Alex Summers book. And I still, I went back, and because my oldest X books are in storage. And so after I was done recording, I went to my storage unit because I was going to have to anyway, to get more of the books, and get for thumbnails and things like that. And I went, and wouldn't you know it, that's when I found out that I do have X-Men 54. So X-Men 54 is my oldest X-Men comic book. It's one of my oldest comic books, period. And X-Men 54 came out January 9th, 1969. This is just over 6 years before I'm born. So, and way longer than that, until I appreciated comics, another 10 or so years. More, about 11 or 12 more years before I really appreciated comics. So this is about 18 years before I got into comics. The cover date is March 1969, though. And there are 2 stories in these books. The first one is called Wanted, Dead or Alive, Cyclops. Its writer is Arnold Drake. The penciler is Don Heck. Inker is Vince Colletta. Letterer is Gene Izzo. And editor Stan Lee. Then the second story in here is what I believe is a reprint. It's either a reprint or like already retelling, or it's telling a different corner of like an origin story, sort of how Angel became a part of the X-Men. And that's called The $1 Million Angel. And it's also written by Arnold Drake, but the pencils are Werner Roth. And then the inker is also Vince Colletta, but the letterer is Artie Simic, and the editor is Stan Lee. So appearing in Wanted, Dead or Alive, Cyclops, you've got the regular team. Then supporting character, you get the main story and flashback. First appearance of Alex Summers, a.k.a. Havok. We also get the first appearance in this of the Living Pharaoh. I always associated the Living Pharaoh is a little too close to one of the Kang variants for me, so it's a little weird. But we also have Brother Barish, Malik, and unnamed servants of the Living Pharaoh. Let's see. Then we have the synopsis. So here's the synopsis for the first part of the story, and then I'll do the second part of the synopsis, and then we'll get into reading the book, and then I'll give you my overall thoughts afterwards. The first synopsis for Wanted, Dead or Alive, Cyclops, coming to his senses in the museums, and I do believe this is the first part of the story. Coming to his senses in a museum's Egyptian exhibit, Cyclops finds himself at gunpoint by a police officer who is accusing him of murder. His memory foggy, Cyclops thinks back to how this all began. A few days back, Scott and the other X-Men visited Scott's brother Alex, and then everything goes from there. I'm not going to read the entire thing because then reading the book would be kind of pointless. And then appearing in the $1 Million Angel, featured characters are Warren Worthington III, Catherine Worthington, Curtis, the Worthington's butler. So this looks like this part is just there's no other X-Men. But this is telling the origin of the X-Men's Angel, how our story begins some years ago when a young Warren Worthington III exasperates his parents, climbing to a tree to get a closer look at some eggs. And so, yeah, this is the retelling, of Warren's origin story. And so, without further ado, after giving all of that synopsis and giving all of that why we're doing this and everything else, and all the usual gaffes that I have while I'm making one of these videos, let's start reading X-Men number 54, the first book, the oldest book in my X-Men collection. All right, so X-Men number 54. Cyclops must die. We got the Living Pharaoh on here. We got everybody fighting. Gene's over there in the background, like in the corner, like, hey, what's going on, guys? And here we go, everybody. The very first panel of my X-Men books. On your feet, Cyclops. I never thought I'd live to see the day when murder? I'd have to arrest an X-Man for murder. And then he goes, murder? Wanted, dead or alive, Cyclops. X-Men, the most unusual fighting team of all time. These pyramidal pyrotechnics by Stan Lee as the chief pharaoh, Arnold Drake as the scroll writer, Don Heck, mummy designer, Vince Coletta, hieroglyphics perpetrator, and Gene Izzo as graffiti letterer. Wait, O breathless ones, would you risk the wrath of Ra and the everlasting spell of the Sphinx before knowing how this came about? Fear not, Fellanin. The answers lies just beyond. And I mean, this is like, wow. Look at Cyclops in this. This is like old. I mean, what else was I expecting? It's 1969. How in the name of sanity did I get into a jam like this? Oh, yes. It's coming back to me now. It's all coming back. It started on a lovely spring day. On the campus of Old Landon College, all the X-Men had turned out to celebrate my well-kept secret. Don't mind admitting to myself that I'm pleased as punch the way young Alex turned out. Imagine Scott having a kid brother, never once letting on about it. So, wow, okay. Nobody knew he had a brother. And we are just now finding out that he's graduating. He made his name as a campus athlete, of course. But I'm proudest about his graduating third highest in his class. Man, this is crazy. Reading this for the first time. This is the first, like I said, this is the first time I'm actually reading this. And that's, you know, that bothers me that I didn't read this before, but I'm not going to beat myself up. Here we're reading it now for the first time for some of us all together. His athletic prowess he was born with, because like myself, he's a mutant. Only he's not quite aware of that yet. Pleased to meet you, Mr. McCoy. Persist in addressing us all in this formal fashion, Alex, and you risk endangering a warm rapport. So yeah, they haven't even gotten to like his abilities. Get out of your cap and gown and we'll buy you a brew down at Jack's Shack. You're old enough now. Thanks, big brother. Be with you in 2 shakes of a mortarboard tassel. Strangest premonition as I walked through that door like some kind of warning. What? Hail to thee, Alexander Summers. We bring you greetings from the Pharaoh. I have him now, Baresh. Quick, the ring of silence. The ring of silence. It is here, Brother Malik, and with one breath the boy will sleep as though entombed. This is like, and I've said this before, and not in this video, but this really feels like Commander Cody kind of stuff, like old serials that Mystery Science Theater would make fun of. Just the dialogue and like they're fighting pharaohs and stuff. It's just kind of it's wacky. But like for the time, you know, like well, I mean, I think the 60s was a time, right, where a lot of exploration of pyramids and things was going on, right? Or was that pre this? Because of I remember the Mummy, the original Mummy movie I don't know. Again, it shows how ignorant you can be of your own past, of like, when was archaeology's big boom in at least this century? Or, well, last century. Wow. I live in 2 centuries. Yay! Alex, what's taking you so... Well, it would appear there has been a severe altercation on the premises. Good grief. Oh, he probably said good grief before that. Scott, what's Jeannie... Shh! She's trying to pick up mind patterns of the last people in this room. Well, you have done well, my servants, for here lies the only living man who could challenge my power. The young fool does not realize. And, he's going to end up in this position again in 56. Trust me. Except he's going to be in like one of those Lilu tubes like from the Fifth Element. That within him runs the blood of royal Egypt. Few men know that. All of the pharaohs were men of special natural powers. Mutants! Pharaohs were all mutants, huh? All right. As this one, like myself, is such a mutant, I felt his blood call to mine. Thus I ordered his capture. And now I ordain his death. Always with the human sacrifices. Crack! Ah! A power like 10,000 bolts of lightning strikes. So, there are more who possess the power of pharaohs than I had dreamed. Then all must perish. So says the living pharaoh. He said it, his name, it's there, yay! Heads up, fellow mutants, I do believe this Egyptian throwback and his lackeys mean us no good. To be more precise, they are veritable scoundrels. Whoosh. Back before he was blue, he wore a blue and red and yellow costume. Tell your boys to be careful with those pig stickers, Pharaoh baby. Their spears are the least danger you face here. Behold my magic! Magic, my foot, he's a mutant, much as we, men. Wow, do that again. Magic, my foot, he's a mutant, much as we, men. This could be complicated. Kazam! Not that Kazam. Whoosh, crackle. And as for you, winged one, I bring you to the earth like mighty Icarus, whose wings melted at the sun's kiss. Okay, hot stuff. Let's see if this can, you should pardon the expression, cool you off. Nice to meet you. Kindly stay out of their altercation, sir. It's a family dispute. Whap. Speak your last words to Ra or whatever deity you worship. Hold it, Pyramid Papa. You're about to get drowned by a brainwave. Okay, now he just sounds like Robin. Or Batman, actually, from the 60s. Za. I mean, and I can't, I'm not dissing it at all. It's a throwback. Everything starts somewhere. You look at these characters now, and it's like, what the hell? The only thing that's basically similar is a little bit of the tone. Definitely Cyclops has his things going on. They all look a little different. And because of the times, they're fighting different things. The language is different. The lingo is different. The slang, all that stuff is different. And again, this is the first time anybody is seeing these stories, so they're not cliches yet. Your powers are not to be demeaned. Therefore, must I drop this magic amulet. Again with that magic talk. What he means is he's dropped a mini smoke bomb, and it sure does pull the shades down good. I like it. He's calling okay, because there's times where they say magic is just science that we haven't figured out, right? But he's saying he's throwing that in this guy's face. He thinks he's using magic, but what he thinks is magic is just some bullshit to us. It's just it's a smoke bomb. Now, while you stumble through clouds of darkness, I press the concealed button, which will release my loyal warriors. Click. Aye! You would harm the sacred living pharaoh. Die, hideous infidel. Buster, you're looking for an ice cube kimono. It's not nice to point in public, particularly with a knife. Zap! Whoosh! Whoa! Did they throw a blade through his feathers? Oops, I've been pinned, boys, and I don't mean with a fraternity pin. Give me a hand. Ooh, that's gotta hurt. Help is on the way, my feathery friend. Bwomp. Oh yeah, they stabbed his ass. Now, in concert, men, let this be our grand finale. Okay, here's my contribution. Neat, but not gaudy. And what's Kid Cool up to? Me, I'm just closing the whole show is all in my own lovable fashion by ringing down an ice curtain. And so it comes to this, man of flaming eyes, that you and I have the final contest. I like it better this way, Pharaoh, and let him who weakens first fall by the wayside. However, I have no intention of being the fallen. Your mutant power... Okay, I kind of read all that wrong, but it's okay. And so it comes to this, man of the flaming eyes, that you and I have the final contest. Your mutant power against my own. I like it better this way, Pharaoh, and let him who weakens first fall by the wayside. However, I have no intention of being the fallen. He's tougher than I thought. Optic beams starting to weaken. Must help, Cyclops. Perhaps my mental waves can stop the Pharaoh. I'm getting into your head. What's happening? My brain vibrations bouncing back at me. A wall of sound, woman, merely another power of the indomitable Pharaoh. Resist any longer and you shall die from the echo of your own brain waves. Watch it, Beast. You get too close to that wall of sound vibrations and it'll shake the teeth from your head. That's an irrefutable fact. The barrier is diminishing, but it's still too rough to handle, and they're getting away. Well, get them, chum. Chum. But first, I'm going to burn those chains off my brother's wrists. Zach. Brother, did you say brother? I mean, like, wow. He didn't even know he was his brother? We gained the pristine impression that you two should be left alone to discuss a few things. See you back at the headquarters, Psych. I guess you're right, Beast. We won't be long. I guess he was just like, wouldn't he wonder why these people were interested in him in the first place? It's funny, Alex. Here I've been waiting all these years to be able to level with you, and now I don't know where to begin. I've got a dandy notion. Why don't you try beginning at the beginning? Okay, but it's the craziest darn thing. Suddenly I'm shy about this, and... What's the matter? You afraid I'm going to be ashamed of being the kid brother of the leader of the X-Men? Cyclops or Scott, you're still the greatest. Hey, did you hear something? Yes, a rustling sound, like a robe. But from where? But where from? A robe rustling? Got to find out who. You are too late, man of the burning eyes, for I have returned unnoticed, and now I bring down upon you the curse of the Pharaoh's eyes. None can escape the darkness they bring. Strange luminescent jewels gleaming at us, burning right through to the brain. Got a head brush? Is that what it is? The Pharaoh's eyes are hypnotic gems. I'm blacking out. Ah, the murder. Down, down into a Stygian tunnel from which there seemed no return, then slowly Psyche's head cleared. On your feet, Cyclops, both hands behind your head. We've never trusted you crazy costume mutants. Still, I never thought I'd live to see the day when we had to arrest an X-Man. And for murder? Murder? Bum, bum, bum. Again. You heard us. This one who called himself the Pharaoh, he's dead, and they come as they come. And you lying there pretending to be knocked out. He doesn't realize that Alex was here with me, and if I didn't kill the Pharaoh, Alex did, and ran. That means he needs my help. Crack! He bust the dude's gun? Oh no, he shot it. You're just going to have to forgive me, gentlemen. When I've found my brother and gotten him straightened out, I'll make it up to you. Whap. He got away. How's it going to look on the report? Him overpowering the two of us. Forget it, Fred. He's overpowered whole armies. That's not what's got me. If the X-Men are turning bad, what can anybody do to stop them? I won't believe it. I just won't. What we believe doesn't matter. Listen. Thus, the fugitive Cyclops is being hunted for 2 crimes: the brutal murder of the man called the Pharaoh and the assaulting 2 policemen. We've got to find Scott before the police do. But even if we do, then what? We'll worry about that when the time comes. Now let's go. PDH-17 reporting. No sign of Cyclops in the 4th sector. Any further orders? Yes, move into Sector 5. Now your only standing order is find that man. These natural tunnels under Pharaoh's headquarters. Alex must have discovered them and disappeared down here. The poor kid. Panicked. But if I can just find him. Ah, a light ahead. I can see a figure of a man. It must be out. No, it's the Pharaoh? But it can't be. You're dead. I saw your body, and they even claim I killed you. Let me assure you, I am very much alive, for I am a direct descendant of the immortal ones. Pharaohs have 10,000 lives, but you have only 1, and it's about to end. Next, the secret of Cyclops' brother. Look at that, though. And I don't want to, I was really talking, nicely about Neil Adams and all that. But I don't want to, dismiss the art of Don Heck here. I really don't. Especially on the way that they drew them. And I love, yes, they've all changed. And again, with the times. Look at Scott's boots, and all that. And the old, just the old blue, yellow, red that they all had in their uniforms. The very pirate-ish kind of boots that he has. And as dated as that is, I still love it. I love it. Okay, and this should be the second story. Warren, come down from there this second. That tree is over 20 feet high. Eek! Easy, Mom. There's no problem. Heights never even frightened me even when I was a baby. Hey, Pop, I found those practice golf balls you lost. A bird carried them up here. Must have thought they were eggs. Some joke, huh? Warren, come down, boy, but not too fast. This angelic biography, edited by Stan Lee, written by Arnold Drake, drawn by Werner Roth, inked by Vinnie Coletta, lettered by Artie Simic, The $1 Million Angel, beginning a new chapter from the X-Men Family Album. Suddenly, Caw! Yeah, look out, that bird! Ah, too late! Don't worry, Mom. I'm okay. I grabbed the next branch. Crack. Oops, there goes the branch, and here goes me. Come to think of it, I was pretty high up. Luckily, our new $20,000 swimming pool was right below, and it was worth every splash. Beg pardon, master, but it may take some time to dry these togs. However, you'll have little need of them for the present. Right. The folks have restricted me to barracks again. Man, I spend more time behind locked doors than Bonnie and Clyde ever did, which, I guess in 1969, Bonnie and Clyde were still relatively, that was like 30 years ago, though? How long ago was Bonnie and Clyde? I can't stand it. Last week he was using the roof for a sliding pond. Yesterday he chinned himself on the TV antenna. Besides nailing... Oh, and then she's going to say something else that's not there. And now this? Isn't there anything we can do? Besides nailing him into a steel-ribbed trunk? Jesus. How about a good private school with a high fence? It wasn't just a good school. It was the best, and Warren proved a top athlete. Man, look at him go. He's sure to win his letter for soccer, which makes him a 5-letter man. He's the best on campus, and he knows it better than anybody else, unfortunately, because that's the conversations they have right in the middle of a soccer game. He even pulls down top marks and everything. No wonder he thinks he's better than anybody. I don't know how much better he is, but he sure is different. Bum, bum, bum. Here's something else he's number one at. He's got the biggest shoulder blades in the world. Get a load of They're making fun of his shoulder blades because they're bigger because the wings are about to pop out. But that's what they decided. Yeah, you can point out is, hey, old shoulder blades, you fucking jerk. You're about as funny as a hurricane in a feather factory. I love it. Oh my God. And speaking of feathers, it was only a night or two later that, well, where do you suppose this came from? It's too big to be from my pillow, and the mattress is foam rubber. Matter of fact, this thing looks big enough to be off of an eagle or a vulture or wings. I've got wings? I've got to get out of here before the administration finds out about them. They turned me over to Biolab as a guinea pig. Thank heaven they're so small and so useless. And so, I mean, if I woke up tomorrow and had wings, I mean, I would tell everybody in the house. I'd be like, look what happened. What the fuck is going on? And then, I'd probably say we have to get in the car. Okay. We have to get in the car. Got to drive somewhere where no one's at and see if those things work. And so Warren began a campaign to make himself the most hated kid at school, which wasn't hard to do. In no time at all, Warren got what he wanted. Orders to move into a separate and lonely room. So he just acted that way so nobody would see. Dig those crazy wings. They're growing bigger every day. Man, this sure does make me something special. Yeah, especially lonely and especially miserable. Stop kidding yourself, chum. You're a freak. Hey, what's that? It smells like smoke. It is smoke. Gotta get out of here. Grab some clothes and scram. Uh-oh, more trouble. The flames have cut off the staircase. Jeesh. When it rains, it pours for this guy. Got no choice now. Have to do it the hard way. Out the window. I wonder if somebody set the fire just so that he would have to do this. And I do. Okay, bones, hang loose, because here we go. I got some clothes dumped safely, but clothes don't have any bones in them. Hey, the wings, they're slowing my fall, and when I move them, I can fly. And here are the clothes I dropped. Now all I have to do is that cry. There are guys still trapped upstairs. Oh well, bye. I can fly. I can fly a rope up to them, and I know just where to get one. Only trouble is they'll see these wings on me. Heck, this is no time to worry about my pride. That's right. Yep, I knew there was rope in the school theater storeroom. Those theatrical props. That gives me an idea. It's nutty, but so what? A long blonde wig and a nightshirt. The guys will never guess the real identity of this angel. Oh, man, do you see what I see? I'll see it, but I'm not about to believe it. I don't care if he's for real, so long as that rope is. Look at it this way. If the rope breaks, we got our own angel to carry us straight to heaven. Hey, it's working. You betcha. Now where's that angel? Gotta thank him. There he goes, flying off. I'm sure glad we all saw him together, or I'd turn myself into the nearest nut factory. Well, everybody's checked in except Warren. Did anybody see him? He's over here, headmaster, only he missed all the fun. You sure did. We got ourselves saved by a real live angel. Oh, brother, look at these guys. I mean, even their eyes look indoctrinated already from just telling the story over and over again. How nice. And did Peter Rabbit and Chicken Licken come to your party too? Okay, Mr. Wiseacre of 1963. He's a lot of things of 1963, isn't he? Don't believe us? But there is a fabulous character with wings flying around here, and we're going to find out who it is next, where angels dare to tread. And that's the end, I think. Let's see what happens when I do this. Nope, that's the end of this. So we'll get to that. Stop screen. And that was X-Men number 54. It's crazy. The arts to me is still on point. The characters are pretty much the characters that they always have been. Just nothing has happened to them yet, other than their powers, and they're going off and they're figuring out their powers. We're getting the origins of Angel's powers in here. We're meeting things for the first time. Everything is a first here. And while it's weird that they're fighting pharaohs to me, it pretty much tracks with the kind of books and stories that were told back then. I mean, they didn't have everything that we have, and they didn't know everything that they knew, and they didn't know where this was going to go. And all those ideas, though, that they had, that they were using, I think were fantastic. Yeah, the lingo is dated. So much of this is dated. But this is one of those times where I'm glad, to go backwards and see some of this. And yeah, some of this is probably going to be, like a little problematic from here every once in a while. But we'll talk about it as it comes. Was like I said, the fact that there's never, that they didn't have at least one, person that wasn't white on the team. But again, 1969 was 1969, but that's just so crazy to me. Because I think of how I've just always been around people that are, different races and colors and genders and sexes, and just having to go back to this time period and to think about how, they were able to even get this book out. And we didn't get, the first black X-Men really till Storm in 1975, the year I was born. So anyway, that's another thing that I like to hang on myself, is that Claremont's run and the origin of all these characters came out the year I was born. Yeah, that's right, baby. I'm actually a mutant, but my mutant power is love. And so that's where we're going to stop. And when we come back, we'll be talking about X-Men number 56, my second oldest comic book of the X-Men that I own. So if you liked what we're doing here, don't forget to hit like and subscribe, all that jazz. Don't stop reading comics. If you haven't started reading comics, figure out how to read comics. If you don't know where to find them, I'll help you. No, just keep reading comics, though, folks. Be good to each other, and I'll see you on the next video, bub. Bye. Ba 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 bum. Ba bum 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 bum.